Now, the DNC is in all sorts of trouble, Josh. They seem to be in complete denial about why they lost so badly.
How many of you believe that racism and misogyny played a role in Vice President Harris's defeat? Okay. So that's good. You all passed.
Josh, those were the candidates for the DNC chair, I believe. All just seem to be obsessed with race, gender, the idea that America is some sort of systematically racist, sexist country. And the Democratic National Committee has elected a new vice chair. It's far-left activist David Hogg, who has called for the defunding of the police, who wants ICE abolished. They just don't get it, do they? I mean, they seem to be doubling down on the insanity.
The funniest thing about David Hogg, besides the fact that he's literally like 25 years old, he's now the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. But the funniest thing besides him is that as Greg Price, who is excellent on X, as Greg Price pulled up, David Hogg himself actually put out a tweet back in, I think it was the year 2022, where David Hogg actually said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but this is a close paraphrase, he said, "I am political poison. No one wants to touch me because whoever touches me is just going down with the ship." He literally tweeted this. And then the Democratic National Committee names him vice chair of the entire party less than 3 years later. I mean, you can't make this up. I mean, this is basically a Babylon Bee headline here is what the Democratic National Committee has just done. But that other clip with Jonathan Capehart, the Washington Post MSNBC guy, who here believes the racism, misogyny was the reason that Kamala Harris lost the election here. Look, at this point, I think we have enough data points to indicate that Democrats aren't going to learn anything. At this point, we have seen enough, whether it's Sunny Hostin on The View, who said the exact same thing literally 2 days, the Thursday after the election. She was there on The View. She was saying, obviously, it was sexism, xenophobia, transphobia that cost this election. She even got her co-host on The View, Alyssa Farah, who is a rhino, if there was ever a rhino out there, someone who has the worst case of Trump derangement syndrome, all of mainstream American television. Alyssa Farah even chimed in and was like, "Are you kidding me? That's a little bit much even for me there." But whether it's Sunny Hostin, whether it's Jonathan Capehart there, we now see that they're not going to get it. And the reason that they're not going to get it, Rita, is because it would force them to actually disavow everything that the post-2008, post-Barack Obama party has stood for when it comes to DEI, intersectionalism, this rainbow coalition of the oppressed. They would have to repudiate all of it and go back to the old Harry Truman, John F. Kennedy style working class blue collar party. They're not ready to do that. But you know what? As a conservative, I say that's awesome. I love it.
Well, they still have the media and celebrity class backing them. That lot continue to attack Donald Trump and his policies. Let's hear this considered take from mega star actress and songstress Selena Gomez.
I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do.
Oh dear. And Josh, you mentioned The View. They are even seeking to blame Donald Trump for the American Airlines crash with a Black Hawk helicopter. This may be a new low for The View.
Trump fired the heads of the Transportation Security Administration and Coast Guard, and he also eliminated all the members of a key aviation security advisory group.
Oh dear. It's clear, Josh, that she has absolutely no idea what any of those bodies do, or she wouldn't make a complete fool of herself mentioning them in relation to this crash.
No, she obviously has no freaking clue whatsoever what is going on. None, because there are not many brain cells, frankly, operating there between the two ears, so to speak. There, what happened here? Rita, I was actually in Washington D.C. when this happened. I actually flew out of Ronald Reagan National Airport less than 24 hours after the crash. It was kind of eerie being there so soon after, actually. But what happened here was apparently there was just a screw up when it came to air traffic control. There was one person who was who was tasked with assigning both the helicopter and the plane routes there. But the point is, when your instinct is to not actually look at the facts, not actually look at what went wrong in this very particular situation there, what actually happened in the communication between air traffic control and the helicopter pilot and the commercial airline pilot there, when your instinct is just to try to find some exogenous, not related at all data point and then try to impute it to the president of the United States, you have lost your mind and you have lost your ability to engage in anything remotely resembling logical reasoning. And frankly, if there was any merit and justice in the marketplace, you would probably be out of a job when it comes to talking head punditocracy and media commentary, because she's not contributing anything to the conversation. But yet again, as we were just saying there, they're just doing the same thing here. It's just, they've learned nothing, Rita. Like the Bourbons of old. You know, there's that old Talleyrand quote. Talleyrand famously said, like the old Bourbon monarchs in France, they have learned nothing and forgotten nothing. America's fourth estate, our mainstream media, are like the Bourbons of old. They have learned nothing. They have forgotten nothing.
Well, there's a great deal of argument at the moment in the US that there should be some further cuts made to bodies like NPR, because you talk about the fourth estate. At least when you look at The View, it's privately funded. If some fool wants to plough their money into that enterprise, good luck to them. But when you've got taxpayer-funded media spewing out lies and divisive race, gender, trans ideology, really, what justification is there for that funding to continue, Josh? There's
not. There is precisely zero justification for it to continue, whether it's NPR, whether it's PBS. There is simply no need for any taxpayer subsidization of any kind of media outlet here. I mean, maybe there was a role for that when in the very early days of radio, in the very early days of television, but in today's day and age, especially when a lot of people are cutting the cord in general, when they're cutting the cord when it comes to both radio and cable news, people are getting the news increasingly online. Oftentimes here in America, there's just no need for the American taxpayer to be involved in this here. Ideally, this is the kind of thing that Doge under Elon Musk would actually look at there, is trimming fat like this. Conservatives have been saying this basically since the Reagan administration for the past 4 decades. Trump's the kind of guy who, he's the kind of guy who comes in there and he can actually hopefully get this done. I think it's a very good idea, frankly.
Now, before you go, there's some sobering data for the Democrats that confirms what we've been discussing. This polling is abysmal. Newsweek reports that enthusiasm for the Democrat Party has continued to plummet since the November election. The party is at its highest unfavourability level. We've got data here showing 31% of voters have a favourable view of the Democrat Party, compared to 57% holding an unfavourable view. Josh, this is precisely what we've been talking about. Nothing we have seen since November, since January 20, shows that they get what the problem is and they're going to go about fixing it.
They don't, and it's because they're elites. So the elites of the Democratic Party, the people like Sonny Hostin on The View, the people like Jonathan Capehart there on that stage there was this massive chasm. There was a gargantuan galactical chasm between Democratic Party elites and the mainstream American citizen, like the so-called deplorables of Hillary Clinton, the bitter clingers, Barack Obama. But even on the left side of the aisle, even on the Democratic side of the aisle, there is a large chasm between Democratic elites and the everyday median Democrat there. And until that chasm is shrunk, until they find some way to focus yet again on blue-collar, working-class economic issues, by the way, economic issues that I may or may not personally agree with, but at least they'll be focused on the actual day-to-day concerns rather than focus on these abstract, pseudo-academic, Marxist, claptrap, gender, racial, immigration theory garbage, the likes of which the American people are basically just flipping 2 middle fingers at them consistently. And I don't know at this point what the heck has to happen. I mean, do Republicans need to get 70 U.S. Senate seats? Do they need to get a 30, 40 seat advantage in the U.S. House? Do they need to get like a 9-0 advantage in the United States Supreme Court? I don't know, honestly, what it's going to take for them to get the message. But hopefully at some point, I don't know, Reed. I mean, they're not going to learn, honestly. And yet again, as a conservative Republican, I'm pretty happy about that.
Josh Hammer, thank you so much for your time this evening.